what do we mean when we talk about emotional center of gravity? I am Kathy Bartoli from theintimacydojo.com.
I'm Reed Mahako from readaboutsex.com. Kathy, what the heck is that? Is that a science term?
Well, it's a science term applied to something emotional.
What is the center of gravity?
Center of gravity means if in my mass, where is the center? Where is the...
Engineering.
Oh, yes.
Engineers here today. All right, good.
So if we have a center of gravity, we can have in different directions, but most people know if I try to balance this pen over here, it's going to fall.
Okay.
The center of gravity, if I was really good at balancing pens, which I'm not, if I found the center of gravity,
it would stay there. Like a seesaw.
I wouldn't balance it here or here.
Okay.
So that's for center of gravity. For physical, there's...
Okay. So now, and then you're using this term in one of your articles that perhaps you will link to in this video.
Probably.
Where you use the term emotional center of gravity.
Yes, and it came about from discussions Reed and I have been having about...
That's right, put it on me.
No, it did. I want to attribute that because it did. It wasn't... We were trying to figure out... I like to look and watch how people walk into a room and feel very powerful, or people feel safe with them. Like, I'm always kind of trying to figure out how they do that. And Reed's really good about creating that space. And I was talking about how I didn't feel always that I was on my center of gravity.
Okay, so you felt like wobbly.
Wobbly. And I used the example of Weeble Wobbles for those of us old enough to remember those toys where you're just kind of wobbling around.
Okay.
They have a low center of gravity, so they keep returning back standing up.
Okay.
Weeble Wobbles. But I think humans do wobble sometimes. We're like having a bad day, we need some support, we call a friend, they kind of help us get back up right.
Okay. So, and again, like, I'm going to jump from science to not science because this is interesting nerd stuff for me. When you say low center of gravity, what does that mean versus a high center of gravity?
Okay, so if you have something tall.
Okay, like the pen again?
Yeah, if we take the pen and say that's very heavy up here.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to balance that, and it's easy to tip over.
Okay.
So it's easy to get even a little bit of deflection, a little bit of off center. If the weight's all up here, it's going to fall over fast. Versus for Weeble Wobbles, they're round at the bottom and they have a lot of mass at the bottom.
Okay.
So they tend to be pretty stable.
Okay. So if all the weight was in your head, then you would fall over
easily.
So if you were in your head a lot,
rather than in your body,
emotionally in your head,
then
you wouldn't be as emotionally stable.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that humans, I use the analogy a lot of Weeble Wobbles, because humans are going to wobble. Like, I always had this idea I was going to be the stoic person that wasn't going to ever need anyone. And humans do need each other. I call my best friend, I'm like, oh, this bad stuff happened, I just need to vent for a few minutes. And then most of the time I'm fine. And there's times I need a little more support, and he might just be like, okay, I'm going to hold you up for a little bit. And now, you got it? Okay, good. I think the problem comes about is that a lot of people don't even have the concept of being over their own center of gravity.
Like stability.
Stability, yeah.
Okay.
Where I'm gonna, like a Weeble Wobble, I may lean on someone this way or this way, I might give some support, but I'm gonna come back to my center of gravity. I'm gonna come back to my own center.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be grounded in myself and my emotions.
And is that different than having feelings? Like, if I'm having feelings, am I not in my center?
Oh, no, I think we have feelings.
Because when you were using the, like, leaning on somebody, that feels to me like I'm having things, I need some support.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm not understanding.
No, I think that's a great question. I think because I have a trauma background and I hadn't really had a lot of support learning how to deal with emotions growing up, and some of the emotions I was feeling when I was first dealing with the abuse were really strong.
Yeah.
So when I felt emotions, often I was needing support.
Yeah. And
I was asking for someone to support me.
And you and I both grew up in households where having a lot of emotions was something only the parents could have.
Yes, yeah.
Like, we had to, like, stifle everything.
Yeah. Then they took turns, and you had to figure out who was the person in charge of emotions that day.
Got it. So it wasn't even safe to be emotive.
Right.
Okay.
So when I was first feeling emotions, I would often need support. My center of gravity was all over the place. I didn't even have the concept of being in myself with my emotions. Versus, I think of it as like a breeze. Some of us have emotions where we're just, I'm feeling this emotion, and I can be with myself. And there's times when a lot happens. Life can happen. You have that kind of perfect storm day, and you're like, holy crap, I need some support, even though I'm usually okay. And so that's when it's really good to have friends in a support circle to help you kind of go,
Okay, yeah, there's a whole, so we're talking about this video like we're just riffing.
Yeah.
So now this conversation is having me be like, oh, so then there's different kinds of emotional support. Like I need I need to rant
Yeah.
and vent
Yeah.
and share my feelings, because if I don't express them, that for me, sitting on all that emotion
Isn't that good?
and packing it down, it's
Yeah.
not like I'm putting more ballast in the bottom of the Weeble Wobble. Like I'm squelching all that emotion, which is
It's
part of,
turbulence.
which is what makes me more ungrounded
Right.
and uncentered.
And when I come back to my body with calmness, like some people like to meditate, I love tapping, different things we can do to release some of that turbulence
Yeah.
and come back to our center
Yeah.
and find our own balance, which is hard to do if you've never felt it.
Yeah.
It's something you have to feel to know.
And there's a lot of different ways to find those centers. Like it's not all about like meditation and like being still. Like you can go and take a baseball bat to a bunch of pillows.
He's done that
And
many times in class.
I prefer you should use the Nerf bat than a regular baseball bat. It's less threatening when your partner walks in and you're beating pillows with a Nerf bat. When you're using a real bat, it freaks people
They're
out.
like running out the other room.
But like dancing, movement, going for a walk outside, breathing exercises, like figure out those things, like ranting to your friend. But like ranting responsibly, like not anchoring all your feelings and upset and emotions, but like vomiting them out so that
you can process them better.
So as a release, those for me all fall under those categories, which then you start to find your center and you're like, okay, here we are.
Yeah.
Whereas if no one's ever taught you those skills, and my mom and dad certainly didn't teach us these things, most of the time what I was trying to do as a kid was trying not to get upset, which there's a certain kind of trying not to get upset, which makes you more upset.
Yes, the more you push it down. Yeah, and so I think that's the momentary, like the wind is blowing through, and like, is it a strong wind or is it a wind you can feel really, like, I love a strong wind sometimes when I feel really stable. And there's other days when I'm just like, wow, I'm feeling blown around by it. And it's okay to reach out for help. What I've noticed, I run a lot of events where I watch really shy, awkward people that haven't socialized a lot, and I've been through the process myself, where I had to learn how to like be around humans.
You're feral,
I was semi-feral,
engineer,
yeah.
Kathy.
Like, how do I talk to humans? They're letting me out of the lab. It was like that some days. So one thing I've noticed is for people that grew up without ever having that sense of center of gravity, it's one of those things we can learn from example if people role model it around us, if our parents have it, our grandparents, or teachers.
Yeah.
But if we were never allowed to even get there, we don't have a sense of that. And so what I notice is some people, when they want to interact with other humans, they're looking for someone to not just lean on temporarily, like, hey, Reed, do you have 5 minutes so I can vent? I'm upset. Which is like, I need to push off this a little bit and get back straight up on my Weeble Wobble. Versus, I'm going to make sure that my center of gravity is over you and you're going to support me forever. So I see people that are looking for someone to be they want to be that clinging vine where they can crawl up somebody else. They don't ever want to have their own. They don't have the concept of clinging of a center of gravity. And actually, role modeled a lot is that, especially for women, that we're supposed to find this big, strong man to lean on, and we're supposed to center around that person. So that's kind of like what a lot of us are socialized. If you read Cinderella or Snow White or whatever, the prince comes and their life is around that person. So I think that there's a center of gravity in terms of emotional upset, and there's also
the center of my world,
Yes.
which is not what we're talking about.
Right. So when people come, it's not just women. I see that with men too. When it's a sexual event, a lot of the men are looking for someone to bolster their self-identity.
Okay.
I think there's a socialization. Again, media does this. It's not anyone's fault that this happens, but we're kind of conditioned in media. If I am with someone that looks this certain way, and who behaves a certain way, I'll feel good about myself.
Well, and that runs really deep because it's very much like if I'm going to an erotic massage event and no one picks me, or no one will partner with me, or no one's excited to partner with me.
Yeah.
Like that's like being the last person picked at in gym class for like, and that's, those pieces run really deep to our childhood and how we socialized.
Well,
So
our brain wants to belong. If we
Yeah.
don't belong, we feel endangered. So yeah, I think that when I tell people to stay in their center of gravity or try to find their center of gravity, it means don't look outside yourself for someone to make you whole or real. Look inside yourself, find your center. And it's hard. It's one of those things that I've been studying tacit understanding, like something that you understand but you don't know how to articulate well. And it's one of those things you just kind of have to feel, and you just keep trying until you get it. Kind of like riding a bike. Like someone can tell you, you get on and you do this with your body and you pedal, but your body has to figure it out. So it's like trying. And I've been to play parties where either I didn't know anyone or there wasn't anyone that I connected with, where I didn't play with anyone. And I've learned to take that time to try to go, wow, if I can stay centered here when no one's choosing me, that's like a really good workout, so to speak. And I usually have a good time when I can do that versus getting all wonky because there's no one for me to.
there's the flip side of it too is I've seen people go to play parties where they're like, well, if I don't pick somebody and try to have sex, I failed as well. So, and then what they end up doing is they end up, inviting somebody to do something that they're not really into.
Yeah.
And that can be wobbly. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, these are all opportunities for you to start to practice and explore and learn about yourself.
Yeah.
You might just be learning something you didn't count on or expect or didn't want to learn about yourself. But at the same time, when I'm running play parties, like what I tell people is like, you're at a play party. Do you know how many adults on the planet will never attend a play party?
Yeah.
Like,
The fact that you're even there, you were invited.
how many adults over the history of humanity have never gone to a play party? Like, you are a champion right now. Regardless of what happens tonight, you are extraordinary in the pantheon of human history. And like, you celebrate that. Like, give yourself a pat on the freaking back for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I always tell people you're doing something right now that you can't even brag about on Monday morning around the coffee machine. Like, it's really cool.
HR would get a call about that quick.
Yeah. So I'm curious about like how people resonate with this because I've been looking for a way to explain to people how to get in their center because we talk about being grounded in your body a lot, but it's not just being in your body. I mean, it's a big step towards it. But if you can find your center and kind of anchor to that, it's a lot quicker to bring yourself to a calm spot.
Yeah, I like the pen with the pen analogy. Like, if all of the weight
Is in your head.
all the energy is you up in your head, you're gonna be more tipsy and topsy-turvy. But the way that you talk about like feel into your feet, get in your body, get grounded, whatever that means for you. Mostly it just means you're self-regulating your nervous system and you're not spiking it with adrenaline and a bunch of anxiety type self-created chemistry. But you're in your body and you're present to the location. You're not stuck in your head, and so like it's kind of like the energy or the focus of the weight is in your feet, and which hopefully gets you a little bit more balanced,
Right.
And then explore it from there.
Well, and if this little pen had arms reaching out and it was always reaching out, it's never going to be able to be balanced on itself.
There you go.
So if you're always reaching for someone else, realize that you're always going to feel off kilter. And for a long time, I thought that feeling of being off kilter was there was something wrong with me, and then I needed to reach harder to get someone that would fill me up and help me feel balanced. Because if I found someone, at least for a moment, I was like, even though I was leaning way over, I was not falling over.
You felt stable.
I felt stable.
Got it. So it's about self stability.
Right.
Okay.
Versus the harder I leaned, the less I was
balance you actually have.
Right. So when I started learning coming back to myself, it allowed me to grow really quickly in terms of like emotional stability. And I used to need to vent a lot, and now like my best friend, I'll call him up. I'm like, do you have 2 to 3 minutes for me to vent? And usually I'm like, we all have really bad days, but like most of the time it's like, yeah, blah, 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 asshole, and then we're good.
And you've also done a lot of work to clear out all the stuff,
The old stuff.
in your garage that you complain about.
Yeah.
So when you do the work to clear those things out, and you're making life choices that are also bringing you happiness,
Yeah.
or more happy than less happy, then what you're venting about can sometimes be handled more quickly because there's less to go through. It's not like a huge file cabinet where the cabinet of
Like,
what I need to complain about
5
just
miles
keeps
back.
going, keeps going, keeps going.
Yeah. Yeah. So I invite you to try this out. One thing I noticed, like if someone does something that I perceive as a rejection, I'll feel wobbly, and I'm like, oh, back to center, my center.
But that's okay because your Weebles were
Weebles
designed to wobble.
Yeah, humans wobble.
And you don't fall down.
Yeah,
There you go.
I gotta get a Weeble wobble.
All right.
So I can show you. Okay, thanks for listening. We'd love to know what your thoughts are. Thanks, Reed.
Good luck. You're welcome. Thank you, Kathy.